After Clerks 2, Kevin Smith directed his next movie, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, starring Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks as the title characters who decide to film a low-budget pornographic film to solve their money problems. It began shooting in January 2008. It was released in the fall of 2008. It was the second non-View Universe film that Kevin Smith directed. It ran into conflicts, getting an R rating, and only got an R rating because Smith took the film through the MPAA's appeals process. The movie was a box office bomb, and the bankable Rogen experienced his worst box office opening ever. In the aftermath of the film's performance, Smith and Harvey Weinstein's business relationship became frayed. It was announced in 2009 that Smith had signed on to direct A Couple of Dicks, a buddy cop comedy starring Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan. Due to controversy surrounding the original title, it was renamed A Couple of Cops, and then finally, Cop Out. The film was recorded in June to August of 2009 and was released in February 2010 and opened to poor reviews. It was a box office bomb and was the last time Smith worked with a major studio. In September of 2010, Smith started work on Red State, an independently financed horror film loosely based on the Westboro Baptist Church and its pastor, Fred Phelps. Weinstein and his brother Bob declined to support Red State. The January 2011 premiere of the film drew protests from the half-dozen members of the church, along with many more counter-protesters. The film was panned by critics and was a box office bomb. In 2013, Smith directed Tusk, a horror film about a man who rents out a room in his house for free on the condition that the respondent dress as a walrus for 2 hours a day. It was released in September of 2014 and received mixed reviews. Before the movie was released, Smith wrote the script for a spin-off of the film, a movie entitled Yoga Hosers. It stars Smith's daughter Harley Quinn Smith and Lily Rose Depp, reprising their two minor characters from Tusk, with Johnny Depp playing his inspector character from Tusk. The movie began filming in August 2014 and was released in 2016. Also in 2016, Smith wrote and directed one segment, Halloween, of the horror anthology film Holidays. In June 2017, Smith started shooting Kilroy Was Here, a horror film based on the graffiti phenomena. Also in 2017, due to obstacles getting Clerks 3 or Mallrats 2 produced, Smith decided to write and direct a Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back sequel called Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. It was released in 2019. Also in October of 2019, Smith announced on Instagram that Clerks 3 was happening and Jeff Anderson had agreed to reprise his role as Randall. The movie was released in 2022. I purchased this movie for $5 at Amazon, which is well below my self-imposed limit of $13.91. In this day and age, $5 will definitely not break the bank. As there's somebody who like $10 reviews, and there was somebody who wanted to do like a $5. They're doing a review like $5 review. But I increased it because I couldn't do like $10 review. I decided I'd do low budget review, which because by increasing the amount that I have, I can increase the number of movies that I have. But anyway, $5 shouldn't be a problem.
I'm living on borrowed time.
I'm gonna make a movie!
Everything in the script is something someone I know said.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Take off your pants. That's how we did it in the 90s, son!
Clerks 3 in movie theaters 2 nights only, September 13th and 15th.
This movie takes place 15 years after the events from Clerks 2. After purchasing the quick-stop convenience store, the pair's lives continue much as before, including hockey games on the roof. The video store closed 10 years ago, and Jay and Silent Bob have taken over the former RST Video and turned it into a legitimate marijuana dispensary. Also, Dante, who's played by Brian O'Halloran, is single, as Becky was killed by a drunk driver while pregnant. Elias, who's played by Trevor Furman, is still working for Quick Stop, and he and his friend Blockchain Coltrane, who's played by Austin Zadger, are trying to sell their NFT kites, which contain an image of the Buddy Christ. Then Randall, who's played by Jeff Anderson, suffers a severe heart attack, and is taken away by an ambulance. Elias, despondent that Christ has forsaken them, decides to become a Satanist. After Randall has emergency surgery, the doctor, who's played by Amy Sedaris, tells Dante to keep Randall happy while he recovers, and warns that he is also at risk. Randall decides that he has wasted his life and needs a new purpose, declaring that he will make a movie about his and Dante's lives at the Quick Stop. At the cemetery, Becky's spirit, played by Rosario Dawson, appears to Dante, encouraging him to move on. After Dante and Randall audition several people, Randall decides he will not only write and direct, but also star in the film as himself, alongside Dante in a supporting role. Rather than cast actors, they decide to cast their friends and customers, who will play themselves. Dante's ex-girlfriend Veronica, played by Marilyn Gigliotti, is initially against the movie, although she later agrees and also has sex with Dante. Randall delegates financing to Dante, who convinces his ex-fiancée Emma, who's played by Jennifer Schwalbach-Smith, to loan the production $30,000, with Dante's half of the Quick Stop as collateral. Silent Bob, who is played by Kevin Smith, is made the cinematographer, deciding to shoot the movie in black and white. Elias and Blockchain are hired as production assistants. As the filming of the tentatively titled Inconvenience continues, Dante is annoyed at Randall's micromanaging and perceived disregard towards him in the script. After Randall tries to recreate the donkey show that took place at movies, Dante has a panic attack and leaves the set, as this reminds him of Becky. Later, at the Quick Stop, a drunk Dante confronts Randall for never respecting him or acknowledging his support over the years, and for forcing him to relive the worst moments of his life. He suffers a heart attack and collapses. At the hospital, Randall leaves Dante to continue work on the movie. Elias excoriates Randall for his attitude and reveals Dante's deal with Emma. Consumed by guilt, Randall finishes editing this movie and sneaks back into the hospital with Jay and Silent Bob's help. Jay is played by Jason Mewes, by the way. He shows Dante the finished film, which he has re-edited with Dante as the main character, saying that the story was all about him. Touched by Randall's effort, he watches the film before he dies peacefully. Dante has a funeral, and after his funeral, Emma arrives at the Quick Stop to collect the $30,000 she loaned Dante, lest she assume his half of ownership of the store. Blockchain arrives and announces the NFT kites were a success, selling out immediately and yielding $1 million in profit. Elias pays back Emma, thus buying out Dante's ownership interest and taking Dante's place as Randall's best friend. Blockchain, Jay and Silent Bob go outside to fly one of the NFT kites, while Randall grieves for Dante at the cash register. This movie really should not have been made. Realistically, even Clerks 2 should not have been made. The original Clerks, though imperfect, stood out like a rainbow, as if Kevin Smith's life force was channeled into a low-budget near-classic with clever writing. There's even parallels between Dante's path and Path of Dante and Dante's Inferno, where, he's seemingly blameless, yet he probably should be blamed just for being there. Clerks 2, although unnecessary, was a decent sequel, and it provides some closure to the Clerks saga. Clerks 3 was inspired by a real-life incident of Kevin Smith. In February of 2018, Smith suffered a severe heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital and had to have emergency surgery. This tells you about the unimaginativeness of Kevin Smith. That the same thing happens to Randall in this movie. Apparently, this caused Smith to become concerned about his legacy, and he was immediately concerned that he might die and be irrelevant and forgotten. So he wrote Clerks 3, not so much to provide closure for Dante and Randall, but to self-indulgently provide us an update on the state of mind of post-2018 Kevin Smith. My take on this is that what you feared would happen is already happening. He will probably die irrelevant, forgotten. If he died when he was 30, the obituary would have included like Clerks as his magnum opus. So this is what Smith's life consisted of. Making a near classic in his 20s, and he made like relevant movies for the next 10 years or so. And mostly for the last 15 years, he's made like self-indulgent crap. Again, he should be commended for actually making something of his life and directing movies, even directing a near classic, before he was 25 years old, is more than most people can say. But the way to become relevant again is to make better movies, and apparently at this point in his life he can't do that. This movie is a total downer. The first two Clerks movies got serious at times, but they also had a lot of comedy in them to balance it out. In Clerks 3, there was some comedy, but not enough, and overall, the tone of the movies was sad. Is there any point to killing off Becky, his unborn daughter, and Dante? In summation, this is a dark way to end this trilogy. And in many ways, this movie was unrealistic. Are we to believe that Randall has heart problems? He plays hockey, which is good cardiovascular exercise. Dante plays hockey too. This probably exempts him from being at risk for heart disease. It's also convenient that Randall is saved, but not Dante. So it seems that heart attacks are just a plot device, seemingly to advance the plot. And what could be said about cameos of people from the original movie? It's kind of sad seeing how old everyone has become. I mean, you better off if you just watched the original movie and didn't watch any of the sequels. Again, there's really no reason for them to be in this movie other than to drive home the fact that Clerks is the brainchild of Kevin Smith, and the others should count themselves fortunate to be part of the movie. But yeah, there's really no reason for these people to be in the movie. Too much of the movie requires the viewer to have seen other movies to fully appreciate the joke. For example, in one scene, Jay and Silent Bob returned Dental School, a videotape they rented 26 years ago. Dental School, for the uninitiated, was a film that a girl waiting for her RST video to be open wanted to rent. For those who watched the movie, though, it was good for a laugh, as was Jay reciting his lines for inconvenience. It was basically someone talking in front of a video store is overacted in a histrionic way to an extreme degree. Again, there's also one scene where Silent Bob won't dance unless he's alone. Even Randall has to leave the set. It's also funny that Elias, who was a devout Christian for most of his life, suddenly becomes a Satanist. I think this more or less serves as a warning that if you take things too seriously, things can go wrong. Yeah, this is one of the interesting comments on this. Like, there's somebody that I listened to the podcast I listened to, the Bob Murphy Show, where he identifies himself as a Christian anti-communist. So how did you become a Christian? What's the story about that? And so his name is like Bob Murphy, so you think like he'd be Irish Catholic. Well, he was a Catholic, but he became an atheist in his 20s because he saw that the that the young priest didn't believe. The old priest believed, but the young priest didn't believe. And then he eventually became an atheist, then became a Protestant. So I could see like maybe you wouldn't want to be a Catholic right now because if for no other reason, the fact that the Catholic Church is filled, the Catholic Church hierarchy has a bunch of degenerates at the top, and so he saw where when in the height of the pandemic, when all the Catholic churches were closed because the Catholic Church got paid off, and the ones that were open were the Protestants. So you can see where the Protestants seem to be like more enthusiastic about their religion. So that's one thing about the other thing. It would have been more interesting if Elias, like, he launched his NFT, his kite NFT, and that it was revealed that he was a Satanist, and maybe like the NFT flopped. But no, it becomes a huge success. Let's see. There's also his relationship with Harvey Weinstein. I think I should get this in here. Let me see if I can find. Here it's directed by Kevin Smith. Here, relationship with Harvey Weinstein. With the exception of Mallrats, all Smith's films until 2008 were financed and distributed by Harvey Weinstein and his brother Bob. Yada yada yada. Smith severed professional ties with Weinstein when he was informed by his assault on Rose McGowan. Soon after allegations of rape and sexual assault by Weinstein publicly surfaced in October 2017, Smith said on Twitter that he was ashamed of his relationship with Weinstein. Again, it would have been more interesting if he had, because Weinstein wasn't financing his films at this point because he was, in falling down terms, not economically viable. So it was convenient that he burnt his bridges to Weinstein when the going got tough. Other than funny moments, however, this was absolutely the worst way to close the Clerks franchise. The movie is sadly self-indulgent and unnecessary, vacillating between a message between telling us to embrace life and a self-celebration of Clerks. In the end, making this movie was an offense to the fans. The only hope is that fans have is that Smith may make better films, which is becoming a dim prospect at this point, but one can still hope. The movie is a disaster, which is odd because you'd think that Clerks would be held in high esteem by Kevin Smith, the brainchild of Kevin Smith, because his baby, but apparently not. I was going to give this movie a 0 out of 10, but primarily because of the laughs. Yeah, there were some funny moments. I give it a 1 out of 10. DVD extras is one area where the DVD excels. We get a commentary with Kevin Smith, Brian O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson, Trevor Furman, and Austin Zager. Trevor Furman, by the way, is this guy who works in tech support for Best Buy. Apparently, he's unwilling to be sucked into the fakeness of people in Hollywood. There's also deleted and alternate scenes, which is a half hour's worth, and a theatrical trailer. You can listen to the movie in English or dubbed in French. You can also view the movie with English, Spanish, or French subtitles. There's also a chapter select. Unfortunately, there's no documentary on the making of Clerks 3. But other than that, the movie has a decent amount of extras. Clerks 3 is not a good movie, and it's really only for die-hard fans of the franchise, and even then, it's not universally liked. For example, I liked Clerks and Clerks 2, but I don't like Clerks 3. But the DVD extras are good, and based on the DVD extras alone and the budget price of the DVD, which is $5, I would slightly recommend this DVD. Again, only Clerks fans and Kevin Smith fans need apply, but for them, I would recommend this purchase. Well, that's it for this DVD review. So for next week's DVD review, what I thought I'd do is I might do like another Will Ferrell 3-film collection. There's one with that's Talladega Nights and two other movies. So I might review Talladega Nights and then review the next two in next 2 weeks. But like the video and comment on it, and hit the subscribe button to be informed of the latest low budget review. As always, thanks for watching.